All right, well, welcome to the DFL Before DNF podcast. Today's special. Part of what I'm in trail running. I'm obsessed with trail running. All the stories that you've heard before. I love everything about it. But my life has been more entrepreneurial than anything, and I've started 13 restaurants, and I teach entrepreneurship at the University of Utah. I love starting, and so when I had this idea of like wanting to talk to people who are starting interesting businesses in trail running, the first one that came to mind was Speedland. Because of its ambition, to me at least it feels like ambition. And today as we talk to Dave Dombrow, we're going to see just how ambitious it is to bring a new product into what I might even call like a legacy space of shoes, even though trail running is such a young sport. So today we're going to talk Speedland for a long time, and I'm going to hear the whole story about it. But this is the first in a handful of interviews that I'm going to do that are about interesting new companies that are making trail running cooler. I'm a massive fan of design. I'm not a good designer, but I love good design, and so Speedland seems to have it all. And so today, got Dave Dombrow, one half of the founders. Kevin Fallon not with us today, but we got you, Dave.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk all things Speedland today. So first, thank you.
No, glad to be here.
Yeah, this is. I've seen him on runners' feet at races. I've seen him around. I've just never seen like a brand new pair.
Yeah.
And like touched them and looked at them, and I can't believe the accomplishment that's on this table right now. I mean, shoes, like
Thanks.
a new shoe company. So today I just want to hear how you did it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Why trail running? Just kind of the whole scope. And so we just met 5 minutes ago. So first, have you been in shoes your whole life? Or like, where did it start?
I've been obsessed with shoes my whole life.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So like a Tinker
Hatfield?
Hatfield, yeah. I'm wearing his shoes right now.
Yeah, classic design.
That were inspired by the Pompidou in Paris. Like
the history.
I love it.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get 1% of this, but so you've been into shoes your whole life.
Yeah, like whole life. I'd say one of his designs, Jordan 4, is probably my favorite design of all time.
My brother had those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wore our shoes today, but I thought about wearing the Jordan 4.
Nice. I really thought hard. I don't have a lot of shoes. I really thought hard about what shoes to wear today.
Yeah. I've been obsessed with shoes my whole life.
Yeah.
Mainly growing up, it was mainly basketball shoes, I guess I would say.
Did you play basketball?
I did.
Okay.
I was, I was serious about basketball, but I was an okay player. Let's put it like
Where
that.
were you?
I was in San Diego growing up.
Okay. Nice.
So I loved basketball and loved basketball shoes and all that. And eventually I went to design school in Pasadena.
Okay.
And was
it like an industrial design?
Yeah, it was industrial design. So I was doing a little bit of everything. I wasn't just doing shoes. But then I got really lucky, and you always get breaks in life, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I got a break to go design for Salomon.
Oh, dang. In Annecy?
No,
Okay.
at that time, in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
They had a satellite studio in Boulder. It was amazing, right? If you know Boulder, it was right off of Pearl Street right there.
Okay.
And full windows. My desk, I could sketch and see the flat irons.
Oh, dang.
It was pretty ideal.
What year were you there?
That would have been when was that internship? In 98.
Oh, cool.
So this was a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you remember if you go way back in trail running, some people will remember this, most probably won't. There were like yellow and black raid series, Solomons and Exit. They had a series called the Exit series that were hiking.
So they were making trail specific shoes?
We were designing a lot of the trail. They weren't making them there, but we were designing a lot of the trail running shoes out of Boulder at that time.
That makes sense. That's cool.
And so those are some of that was when I say trail running, but adventure racing was really big back then. If you remember,
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm really dating myself, but somebody who's listening to this will remember the Raid series and adventure racing and the exit series and all that. Anyway, was lucky enough to work on that type of product
Nice.
during my internship. Then I went back to design school and continued working on, kind of footwear in general, and then went straight to Nike out of out of school. Yeah,
What projects were you working on at Nike?
basketball shoes.
Really? Really? Did you ever meet Tinker Hatfield?
I've met him, yeah,
Really?
but he wasn't working in basketball at that time.
Okay.
So there was another. Tinker's amazing designer. There was another designer that was our creative director at the time that was quite amazing, named Eric Avar.
Okay.
Who's another one of those guys like Tinker that's
Really?
still at Nike, but designed a lot of
So
classic, famous.
Were you on like a
basketball.
specific shoe, like a Kobe, or like?
Not at that time. I was doing like I was a young one. So I at that time. So I was doing more like the what they would call like the mid-range shoes, or like they almost do it by price, right? So it'd be like the $85 to $110.
Yeah, so like high volume.
High volume, kind of mid-range.
Yeah.
And then some of those, depending on, could still find their way onto the NBA court. But then you had your special signature one. And so I was in an interesting time when, at that time, innovation was kind of leading the way at Nike. And then what's happened now, so we had a bunch of, let's say, innovative products that weren't a specific player product.
Okay.
If you know basketball, take something like Foamposite.
Okay.
It was a very innovative technology back then, but it wasn't exactly for one specific player, let's say. Now what's happened, the market shifted, and everything, if you look at Nike's basketball business now, it's all about signature,
Yes.
signature.
Yeah.
So they drive everything now through, whoever you want to say it is.
Yeah.
And they've flipped the business model that way. So
That's interesting.
yeah.
And so you're at Nike working on the mid-range sort of shoes. Did you graduate onto Signature, or did you move companies?
I did some, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
signature towards the end, and then I moved and I went down. I had a short time in Santa Barbara for a company called GBMI that had a bunch of brands.
Okay. Like just a big conglomerate that bought up a bunch of brands, or started?
Yeah, the Diesel was the most famous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was definitely more in the fashion space.
Okay.
But they had a bunch. They even bought, if you remember the brand Pony, they brought Pony. They were going to bring that back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So
Kinda,
anyway,
I think of them in the same as like Fila.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar. I mean,
Same
different
era.
but similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so did that for a short time down in Santa Barbara, and then ended up at Puma in Boston,
Nice.
and was their creative director for a while. And Puma was really interesting because it was kind of perfect's not the right word, but it was a really good blend of fusion, I guess you would say, of fashion and sport.
Yeah.
And especially back then,
Was Puma also started by a Dossler?
it was.
But
yeah,
what was his name? Do you remember his name?
yeah. Well, you had Audi and Rudolph. Sorry, what am I saying? Rudolph Dossler.
I can't think of it either.
No, it's
Is that it?
no.
I just think it.
Oh, my Puma people are gonna kill me.
Well, it's crazy to me that one family could do Adidas, and that same the other son can do Puma. I love Puma.
Oh yeah, I mean that story is the class. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the story, but
No, maybe
yeah,
not. Tell me.
but no, but it's the feuding. I mean, feuding brothers, and
Yes.
won't get into the whole story, but
Yeah.
they go off in their own ways, and I mean it's one of the classic, between that and Nike and a few other stories, the classic, let's say, shoe stories of all time. Yeah. So,
Yeah. So you got how many years were you at Puma?
Ooh, I was there a while. Would have been 5 years.
Okay.
I was based in Boston.
Were you leading design teams at this time, or were you? What was your specific role there?
Yeah, eventually. So eventually, I came in as a senior designer, and then
Okay.
I eventually end up as creative director of all of performance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was cool because we were doing performance in Boston, but we were also doing performance out of Germany, and we were doing performance. They had an office in London, they had an office in Tokyo, so there was kind of performance and fashion going on all around the world. So it was a super interesting place to be.
Wow.
A lot of, I would just say, diverse culturally, which I think was kind of somehow manifested in their designs.
Yeah.
So it was
beautiful designs.
it was yeah, it was a really cool place to be, and I learned a lot. And
Yeah.
it was fun. And so what's interesting was Kevin was with me at Nike.
This is what I was going to
Yes.
ask. When I look at his work history and your work
Yes.
history, it's like you guys were at the.
So we just kind of overlap. He didn't have the stint in Santa Barbara, but we worked together at Nike. We worked together at Puma. He was in Germany for Puma,
Okay.
directing the categories there. So motorsport and soccer, football, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
Kevin has a history in that. So anyway, we worked together a lot. So that was great, and then we wound up at Under Armour together, working together for 9 years.
And you guys
Under
are just like friends at this point, like
We've just
you
been
see each
friends
other
the
at
whole way.
office, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were friends the whole way, but we learned to work together well because his specialty was more in innovation, I would say.
Yeah.
He has an engineering background as well. He also has a design background from the same school
Right.
I went to.
Okay.
We didn't.
Yeah, I saw that.
We were not there at the same
That's so
time. But
crazy.
we met
Yeah.
at Nike.
Okay.
But I would say this, to generalize, he's a designer, but to generalize goes more towards the engineering innovation space, and I go probably more towards the creative direction.
Okay.
Aesthetic is like a bad word, but aesthetic place,
Yeah.
storytelling place.
Okay.
So we kind of, you can kind of, if you understand those two roles, you can see how those two things can kind of come together.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So is there a point, is it when you're both at Under Armour, like that you start dreaming about doing your own thing? Or when did you and Kevin start to?
I mean, we're Under Armour a while, so no. I mean, we were busy trying to build Under Armour
Okay.
from relatively small footwear business when we
Is that Baltimore?
in Baltimore when we started there. And then Kevin ended up going to Portland. We ended up opening a Portland office as well. Kevin ended up going to Portland,
Okay.
Oregon. And so I was going back and forth quite a bit because we had a lot of designers there.
Yeah.
And no, we were busy just building Under Armour, and like anything, things change, you know, and then you start thinking about new challenges, and we had been at most of the big, I mean, short of Adidas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We had been at most of the big brands, so we thought it would be an interesting challenge. And also just to get really hyper focused on something that we could really dive into, get really passionate about. And I enjoy trail running. I enjoy the outdoors. Kevin likes the outdoors. Kevin, like I was telling you before, he's more of a backcountry skier, mountain biker.
Yeah.
But for us, just in general, this idea of really diving into stuff that's all about the outdoors,
Yeah.
Trail running seemed to be the space to do it in. And a lot of people ask us why didn't we get into like road running
Yeah.
or something like that. And it's just, for us, we saw a lot of good work going on the road running side. And we also saw Nike and not just Nike, everybody pouring in a lot of R&D into the road running side.
Yeah.
And so we didn't see that going on the trail side.
Yeah.
But we saw the athletes doing amazing things, and so we just thought probably some white space to go there instead. Yeah.
I don't want to get too far ahead here, but one of my and I'd be curious to see if you agree with this, but most of trail is function before form. Most of trail running, at least, from my observation in terms of the design, like. One of the things that my first takeaway before I even know any of the features of this and how it's going to perform on the trail is just that it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So as someone who just is a fan of design, architecture, any type of design, my first takeaway is that that really that feels like a form then function, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But what's your take on that?
I mean, our approach to this was a little different than how we maybe have approached stuff in the past. I mean, we came into it from a pure equipment mindset. Like right from the start, we're like, and maybe it's just because of other stuff that's in our lives and what we're into, but we're like, okay, like, I don't even want it to be called footwear. Just like, let's think of it as equipment.
Yeah.
And that's how when we were looking at like other industries, like cycling or skiing or, it's like, it's equipment. It's not footwear. So
Interesting.
that's the approach we took where, and that probably led us down a path where honestly, like, wasn't very concerned about the aesthetics.
Really?
And I'm an aesthetic guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really was not. It was more about like, how do we get this thing to perform amazing for the athletes? Like when you look at our core tenets or values, and we can get into that, but like the top of the list, when you walk into our workshop is like, there's a big poster, and top is like, athletes are at the center of everything we do. And so that's always in the back of our head. Like, is it the right decision for the athlete?
Okay.
And then whatever event or.
So when you were saying that you saw some white space, some blue ocean, so to
Yeah.
speak, within trail running, it's funny because I would have said beauty. And like that's because
Yeah.
it's just so stunning at your first look. But you saw equipment as like the blue ocean, so to speak. Is that a fair assessment? Like you were saying.
Performance.
Yes, performance.
Yeah, we weren't worried about the look
That
at
is
all.
so crazy.
I mean, and honestly, like this is not the right way to think about it, but
Yeah.
it's just how I honestly believe that the most beautiful things
Have function.
have the most function.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can't actually like
Yeah,
you can't actually like design it. You
it'd be
just
a discussion in postmodern. Like,
Yes.
if it's just beautiful with no function, it's worthless. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
So-
it's just it's just so crazy that
so
you
like the
accomplished
most
this.
beautiful like I don't know. I'm kind of an automotive person, so like
Yeah.
the best an F1 car or the best TT bike or whatever. Like if it's really done to the optimum performance,
Yeah.
it probably looks the best. As well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, and it kind of takes it out of the equation. I feel like when it's like an aesthetic conversation, honestly, color conversation, all that stuff, everybody has an opinion, and it's highly debatable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I hate that. Like,
Yeah.
I'd like to let's just take that out
Yeah.
and try to get to the best performance for whatever the race or length, whatever we're going after is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, that's the other thing is like what we're putting on the table isn't best for everything. It's trying to make the best for specific things. Like
Yeah.
if you're gonna, do Broken Arrow, it's probably not the same shoe that you're gonna run Leadville in.
Right. Right.
Yeah, some people will, but
Yeah.
that's not
How you're
that's
approaching
not
it.
how we're approaching it.
Yeah. So you're bringing I think when you think of road running, there's just simply larger market size. There's more money going around road, so they can get a very, very specific shoe for Boston, because maybe 50,000 people are going to run it or whatever it is,
Yeah.
25,000, can't remember. But then there's also a large pipeline of people who will always be running it, and the wait list of people who tried to run it would be huge. So you make one Boston shoe,
Yeah.
or like Asics Paris shoe, which seems to be everywhere right now. Like you
Right.
make that, you've got a massive market.
Right.
What's interesting for this is your market, when you're market sizing, it's not a huge, trail running's not a huge market, relatively speaking. It's a big it's a market.
It's a market. It's
But
big
it's not
enough.
road.
It's not road.
Yeah.
But it's big enough for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's clearly working.
That's the key, and
Yeah.
that's the difference. Why maybe like a Nike might not go after it.
Yes.
How they would go after
to this scale.
To this scale, like
Yes.
they would go after a 4% or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So was there a moment with you and Kevin that you can recall? Was there a genesis moment, or like you're at the water cooler at and it's like we could do this? Like what's the first moment where was Speedland born?
Well, yeah. I mean, both Kevin and I, when we moved on from Under Armour, we had to sit out a year. So we couldn't work for a year. Non-compete time period.
Yeah.
So we kind of had an interesting time period where we couldn't really work, right, compete, but we were keeping busy. So we did this funny show. I'd say it's funny because I think it's funny. I think it's funny when I watch it now.
Yeah.
But it's called Speed Hack. So basically, it's like this YouTube thing we put out, and what we did was we got permission to do it because we did it from Under Armour because we didn't want to like break any clauses there.
I see.
But we weren't selling anything, and what we did is we would take shoes, any shoe, and we would just try to make it better somehow.
Interesting.
And sometimes they were just funny.
Right.
And we were making I don't know if we were actually making them better, but sometimes we were actually trying to make them like an interesting, better concept.
Yeah.
And those actually, so there's these, if you go back and watch them, there's these breadcrumbs through all of them that eventually led to this.
Interesting.
Not intentionally
That's what I was going to
necessarily.
ask. So you were like stumbling on.
Well, we were just doing these speed hacks, we called them, you know,
Yeah.
and what we were trying to do is not be so precious, just get in the shop. We were in Kevin had a workshop in his garage at the time.
Yeah.
And we were just trying to like, okay, how do we do these things? Make them, like we took a Hoka, I'll make an example. Like we took a Hoka, the first generation of that Hoka road race, the Rocket X, I think.
Yep.
And it had a plate, and it had an outsole grade EVA. So then we carved these huge lugs, and so we basically turned the Rocket X that weighed very little into a trail shoe.
Okay.
And honestly, it was pretty cool. So what we would do is we would take that concept, and we would then put it on sometimes we tested it, but usually we would try to put it on a fairly decent runner and have them test it and give us feedback. And that was an interesting concept. We were, after we were like, this is actually kind of cool concept for Hoka. But regardless, we would do stuff like that and have fun doing it. And most of the brands, I think, appreciated it and actually thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like all the industrial designers and stuff, those were the people that really like
geeking out.
They loved it. Yeah. Yeah. Just because it's something different and it was super authentic. And that was really the opposite of beauty because we were just
it was Frankenstein.
We were just Frankenstein and stuff. And every once in a while you would land on something that was kind of cool looking. But that was not the point. So so that's kind of when we were talking about starting our own thing while we were doing that. And
so you both left Under Armour at the same time, not thinking that you would start a new business.
We didn't really know what we were going to do at that point.
We didn't know we were. It was just time for something else.
It was just time for something else. And
was Adidas a possibility? Since you named it, that was the only one. Like, was that on your radar?
No. I mean, I don't think anything. Back then, it was more like, okay, we have to stop the non-compete, and who knows what's going to happen. We're working on this stuff together, and we had the history. We're like, why don't we just start or try start? Kind of like one of those things. If we don't do it now, we're never going to do it.
Yeah, totally.
And so.
What year was that? What year were you guys doing that show?
2019.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
2019, because we started the company, we were able to start working on the company, I believe, in 2020. So it was hard. We couldn't go to the factories that we were working with. We had to do everything remotely. And so the one hidden advantage we had was that we had all these deep relationships from our past. So that enabled us to kind of work while other people might not have been able to work during that time as efficiently. We were able to work fairly efficiently.
So as you're making, was this your first? No,
our first one I didn't bring. The first one is
was it this color?
It was that color, but it was a lower stack.
Okay.
And it had a kind of the rubber wrapped up. And anyway, that was called the SLPDX. So this is almost kind of like the cousin to that.
A nod to it, yeah.
This is the GS PDX.
So I'm going to ask a question about your first shoe while I'm not holding your first shoe. How are you prototyping? I mean, I've never been in shoes. Literally, how do you get a model of a shoe? Are you having your factories generate one-offs for you?
We made the initial model ourselves.
And Kevin, when you said Kevin has a workshop, is it a shoemaking workshop?
No, it was just like a shop,
he got
we had a post-stitching machine. We have
got it.
Yeah, some sander, all the typical things you might have in a little shop.
Yeah.
But no, we made the first one ourselves. We made the last ourselves. We made everything ourselves. Now I say that, but we have past experience doing this type of stuff, so it wasn't like we were kind of learning as we go. Like we knew where we wanted to go, and that's unusual. If people listening that are in our space and you say you made the last yourselves, we did, but that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah, you've got Puma and Under Armour. You've got a long history. This was not. This was not me getting into shoes. This was you getting into shoes.
Well, yeah. So anyway, so we had some history, and so
Yep.
so that's when we started, and so we launched the company in June of 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel, it's funny. I mean, maybe it's because of like the sort of like collective COVID fog, but it's hard to believe that was post-COVID. Like that's how new
I know.
you are. But
Yeah.
that's wild. So, questions on like on the business side. You and Kevin are both product people, like product-minded people. It's if I'm understanding correctly. And a lot of times you might have a product person and a entrepreneurial type person who's out doing this thing, or a product person and a manager who's just managing supply chain stuff for you. Do you guys step on each other's toes, or like where do you stop and Kevin start and vice versa?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I guess we both have similar backgrounds, so we do overlap quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just like kind of organically divide up the work. As time goes on. I will say, like, we will try to default to each other's expertise if there's a specific question about something, like, okay, it's kind of unspoken, honestly. Like, if I mean, I'll question something if I don't agree with what he says, and he'll question me.
Yeah.
But it's still like, it's kind of like you're going down a path, and I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of trust in each other.
Yeah, respect.
Honestly, respect, and that's just kind of how it has to work. And and if either one of us, I guess that's the other thing. Like, because of the history, if either one of us made a mistake or something, like we wouldn't dwell on it. We would just like keep moving.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, mistake. I made it. Let's move. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of an interesting. Somebody at Under Armour once said, like if there were more people like how the two of us worked, it would be really, really
nice.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, we've had that, and Under Armour is where it really, because at Puma we worked together, but we didn't necessarily work together on projects as much. We just worked together more on like managing teams and communication.
Yeah.
At Under Armour, we really worked together on quite a few projects.
Yeah.
From innovation all the way into inline. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just kind of this, at this point, muscle memory or whatever you want to call it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so getting into shoes as opposed to getting into apparel, even, and maybe it's just because I can wrap my mind around apparel. So different.
Super different.
There's like, as I think about supply chain, all the things that are on here that have gone into this. I mean, your licensing. You have a relationship with Michelin. You have a relationship with BOA.
Yeah.
There's a dozen things I'm not seeing here that you're seeing that that you probably want to point out.
Yeah.
When you have the idea, like, and you're going to start going forward, like, what phone calls are you making? Are you calling BOA, like, hey, can we get a license on this? Are you calling Michelin? You know what I mean? Like,
kind of. I mean, honestly, where it starts is we just want the best, right?
Clearly.
So that is where.
I mean, I love seeing Michelin on there. That's super
after
cool.
Like how I said, like, we make athletes at the center of everything we do.
Uh-huh.
Second thing down would be no compromises.
Yes.
So we don't compromise.
It's like a fine dining restaurant. Like, the ingredients matter.
Yeah, and that's why, honestly, like, this as well is a very high price point, but our first shoe was even higher price point. And it's because, honestly, we never looked at an FOB. We never looked at cost on anything. I don't care about the cost. I just want the best. I just want the best stuff.
Two product guys starting a business. That's what I would guess how that would go.
That's exactly how it went. And it's the best. Yeah, because then we just make what we want, and we don't have to compromise and de-spec things and do what all the other mass brands do.
Yeah.
So that's how we started it, and it was fantastic. And we're still operating that way. Maybe not quite as pure today, but still trying to operate with that same mindset.
I think what made it special is that you did have that mindset, and then people bought them at the price that it needed to be priced at.
Well, because I think in our gut we believe that people want the best.
Yes.
Not everybody.
Yeah.
But there's a decent amount of people out there that want the best stuff, especially if they're competing. I don't even know if a high level is the right word, but doing these, like for me, I'm not a high level athlete, but like if I'm going to go run an ultra,
Yeah.
I want the best stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and we like sometimes we throw out the term prosumer. You know, like
Yeah.
we like that term because sometimes, like for instance, like I want the bike the pro has, even
Yes.
though
I'm not the pro.
I'm not the pro. I don't need it, but I want it.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it sometimes it's just mentality. If I think it makes me just a little bit better,
Yes.
if my equipment makes me just a little, then it makes me better.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously you can argue that a million different ways, but
Yeah.
but that's kind of where we were coming from with this. Or like
Yeah.
some of it, especially when you're running these super long races, and you want every little advantage you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So what was the price point of the first one that you put out?
375.
$375.
Yeah.
Did with you being product guys, was your pricing strategy something that you outsourced, or were you guys pretty well versed in how to price something?
Oh, I've looked at plenty of. Yeah.
So that price covered your, like, that did everything you needed it to do at $375 per shoe?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the price, the 375 was more or less an outcome of the price of the product.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
so,
It was a cost
so
plus.
it was just like
Yeah.
hey, we just looked at, okay, here's what our the FOB, they say.
Yeah.
Here's what our FOB is. Okay, well, we're going to charge 375.
Yeah.
And part of that, there's a lot of different reasons. Some of it is the materials and the componentry that we used.
Yes.
The other part of it is low volumes.
Yeah.
With low volumes come other.
Crazy high. Everything's more expensive.
Everything gets more expensive, incremented. So,
Yep.
and some people understand that, a lot of people don't. Sure. So there's just a combination, and you try to kind of explain that. Yeah, if we as we become a larger company, hopefully we can get prices to come down.
Yeah.
But that's over.
But then your pricing strategy goes from a cost plus, where you're just adding up your costs and putting the margin you need, to, well, if they'll pay $375, but we can get our costs down. I mean, these are worth what you're charging, clearly, because
well, these are $275. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing. Also, that you got $375 and that you lowered the price. You know what I mean? Like, people are willing to pay. Like, your customers' willingness to pay is pretty high.
But this is a different product, and
Sure.
and also, like, we had smaller volumes of those first shoes.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
right. So your cost. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that you're willing to lower the price says a lot about you.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what we try to explain. Like, we're just trying to make like a company that we believe in, that puts out the best product. It's really not about like trying to take the prices way up or any of that. Like, if we can make the price even lower, honestly, we will. Like, we're just trying to make it so we can make a business that can exist in the future, basically.
Well, from a business standpoint, what I'm hearing is that you don't have a private equity firm behind you,
No.
because the way that you're talking about what you're charging is not aligned with the private equity value.
No.
So, to the level that you're willing to disclose, I mean, you had low quantities of your first order, but that's still very expensive. That's a cash intensive, hard.
And we, just to be clear, we set all of our orders quantities.
Yeah.
So we don't, because most of our, I don't know what the percentage, let's just say 99, 98% of our business is DTC,
Yep.
direct to consumer.
That was going to go there. Yeah.
We set our volumes.
Yes.
So that's important to know, because like we're not, even when we take pre-order, I want everybody to hear this because this is important. Even when we take pre-order, we are pre-ordering to a set amount. And once that set amount is gone, it's gone.
Yes.
And that's important for people to know, because they're like, oh, well, why can't I just keep pre-ordering?
Yeah.
Because we're only building to a set amount. The pre-order is just guaranteeing you your pair, basically.
All right, so I've noticed that, I just thought of that as, I mean, just as a strategy. There's other companies that use a similar strategy, where it's just like, there's also that built-in scarcity that makes people excited about getting on the list quickly.
Yeah.
That wasn't your strategy in doing that. You were more just thinking, hey, this is what we've ordered, this is what we've got.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the reason we got into pre-order initially, and honestly, when we sold this, we didn't do a pre-order. Is we got into pre-order because of timing, just how long the factory turnover takes. So we're like, okay, we'll take the pre-order, and then we'll deliver this in a couple months to the athlete. Yeah. So it was just the nature of timing.
Yeah.
But Yeah, our pre-order is not like a Kickstarter or something where we're trying to get a bunch of orders and keep
Yes.
taking them, keep taking them. That's
Yep.
that's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
We build to a set amount on each. We call them commissions
Yep.
on each commission.
Yep.
And when they're gone, they're essentially to date they've been gone. Now we are going to come back and do another release of this shoe in the future.
Precisely like that, or some tweaks?
Precisely, slightly different, but precise. More or less exactly the same as this shoe. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but for the most part, most of our commissions are with an athlete, and when they're gone, they're gone. The
Yep.
PDX is one that's not with an athlete. It's more of a homage back to Portland, and so this is the one that's also our Speedland green color
Yes.
that we'll bring back from time to time to try to keep it in line if we can to some extent.
So if we talk about like from a design standpoint,
Yeah.
you say that this is an homage to Portland.
Yeah.
Like, what about it is
Yeah.
that to you?
Well, yeah. One, in general, I think the GS, just from a performance standpoint, this is like an amazing Portland. Like, there's a trail out there called Wildwood.
Yes, I'm reading that.
Okay, and so
Yep.
Wildwood basically goes through Forest Park. It's
Beautiful.
about 30. There's trails offshoots, but from
Yeah.
end to end on Wildwood, it's about 31 miles.
Yep,
Kind of single trackish, but
it's great.
perfect for this shoe. I mean, this is like such a great shoe. But then what we do is we'll do little details. So the colors, obviously, the color is kind of this is our brand color.
Yes.
So that's why that's that. And then there's other details that we don't like explain to people, but they can discover them. Like
Yes.
like on the
Yeah, I have wondered from a distance. I've seen that, but that's the Wildwood Trail.
that's the Wildwood Trail, and
Yeah.
you can see some call outs of different things that matter from Newberry Road all the way till the end, and then Pittock Mansion and the Witch's Castle and just different things. So
Nice.
it's kind of one of those things, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
So the fabric scrim is a technology that they had, and so between what they had with the rubber compounds and their other technologies, we just thought it was, the perfect thing to use.
was the
Again,
one.
like how to use the best of the best
Yeah.
stuff. And so we thought Michelin would be a great partner for that. And then that's kind of true for everything
Yeah.
from who we used for the supplier on the foams
Yep.
to BOA. The relationship with BOA we had, and this idea of bringing the S-Works kind of fit and feel from the cycling product
Yep.
into trail running.
Yeah.
We hadn't seen it been done to this extent, and nobody was using these kind of forward and reverse BOA dials.
Yeah.
So it's again like, how do we bring the best?
Do you put those on
components?
all of your shoes, the forward and reverse?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would be a compromise.
Yeah. Nice.
And we don't compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's athletes at the center, no
Yep.
compromises.
Yep.
And then, third right after that is we won't make it if it isn't better. So we don't need to put something out unless it's better. So like a lot of people ask, oh, well, are you guys going to make vests or packs or something?
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we will if we can make it better than what's out there.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good vests out there.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah. We haven't figured out a way to make something better yet. But if we do, we'll come out with it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is for everything.
Yeah.
And that just keeps us really honest and also lets us increase the line methodically and organically versus like, oh, we're going to do this because we need more revenue or it's like, we're not about that. We're not even about seasons.
Yeah.
We're totally seasonless.
That's true.
We don't care about seasons. We drop stuff when we want to drop it.
Yeah.
And that's just how our approach is, which is pretty much, I guess everything that I've said to this point is probably the antithesis. Like we're doing the exact opposite than the industry for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's because you're product driven. So you're a product first company. Like,
Oh, that we're all product.
whereas if I can't, like a business that I start, so there's a book called The E-Myth, and it's entrepreneur. It takes three people, or let's just say three ways of thinking. You have to think about the entrepreneurial, growing out, getting sales, finding new opportunities. You have product, which is what you're doing, and then you have manager. Someone's got to do all the stuff to make sure that the mess that the entrepreneur is making and the mess that the product people are making
Right, like the operations
is
of it
buttoned
all.
up, and goes forward. And depending on who starts the company, the founders of the company is which one's in the driver's seat. So something that I start is going to be like an entrepreneur is going to be in the driver's seat, and it's going to be messy, And when I started Borderlands, there was no product, and there's still kind of not a product, even though we have a mobile app.
Yeah.
But like I saw a market, I saw some opportunity, and I saw a place that I could start to build a community that I loved.
Yeah.
So for you, like it's so clearly products in the driver's seat, and I think that's one of the things that's special and unique about you compared to other companies is that you can make your product-driven decisions.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's special.
Yeah. 100%.
Are there things that you wish, like details of the shoes, any of these that the public doesn't quite notice, but that you put a lot of thought into? Does that make sense? I mean, I believe you put a lot of thought into all of it, but is there one thing it's like, oh, if you just saw the way that we did this stitch, but no one notices, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there anything that's like you wish people saw?
I mean, there's a lot of things that people discover that I think are unique. For instance, like we have this drain that says cut here for drainage on the bottom.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Most people don't really know about that.
Do people actually cut it ever?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And we cut it for a lot of our ambassadors and elites. We cut it.
Okay.
Because when you're running through rivers, right, and you need this thing to drain, you want that cut, right? And so when you're looking at this product, there's a drainage port. If you look in the middle that nobody sees, but there's actually a port that's connected. So if you cut that with a pair of pliers or something, or a X-Acto or whatever you want to cut it with, there's a hole that goes directly through, and it's like a funnel hole. So it's much bigger at the top, so it'll funnel it out.
Yeah.
And then there's two holes here that sometimes people notice, but not usually. That's exactly for that. So the water won't pool up in this kind of bucket chassis. So it's all been kind of considered. Then if you see how the plate is, we have a removable plate, right?
Yeah.
But the plate, kind of kicks in there, so it makes sure that it doesn't cover the drainage if you're doing the drain. So it's little details like that.
That's super cool.
That most people. Well, some people know about that, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And we'll get questions like, why are there holes here even? Like, oh, it's for water.
Yeah.
And then, so stuff like that's considered. There's like, I'll geek out for a second.
Yes, please.
Like if you look at the knit,
Yep.
our knit has high tenacity fibers here. So basically we have an abrasion type knit, so it won't wear. But then if you look at the side here, there's max stretch. So basically, if you have a bigger instep, this is going to accommodate you because it's going to stretch. You don't really notice it that it's there at first, but we're deep believers in fit. We think fit's like one of the most underrated things. So if you can get fit right, everything else will kind of, in essence, the shoe will go away.
Yeah.
Which is ironic, but
So this is ignorance on my part, but is that like is this a discussion around engineering? So like
you're
saying like,
engineering the knit. Yeah, you're zonally doing the knit a certain way, so that you can get the stretch you need where you need it.
okay.
So there's little details like that. Everything that's been kind of selected, even to say if you look inside. Sorry, you can't see it on the camera, but if you look inside to how the lining's cut back, and then it's cored out in certain areas. We're removing weight where we can. You don't see that unless you know it.
Yeah.
The fit strap on this middle one actually goes inside the shoe, so it hugs your foot.
Interesting.
So there's little details like that, but everything's been considered. But it's all been designed through testing.
Yeah.
It's really not Kevin and me sitting there being like, let's do this for this reason. It's like, let's do this because this is better for the athlete for this reason.
But what's crazy to me is that then you think, okay, this is what we want for the athlete, and so you functionally think through it.
Yeah.
Which is what you were saying earlier. We functionally think through it, and then we bring design to that. So like you've got this beautiful design, like the way that looks.
Right.
And then I start to think about your supply chain. Like who do you know that? How did you find someone that can do that for you? Was that were one of you managing supply chain ever at Under Armour or any of those others?
No, but we're all like when you're working with the factory and they have expertise, and then if they don't have the expertise, they're connected to expertise.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of expertise in knit, ourselves just from working in it. So a lot of those things we just naturally have built up the expertise, not just within trail running, like we've done it on sprint spikes to you name it. Like I said, soccer cleats to basketball shoes to pretty much any type of shoe. Honestly, almost any type of shoe that's ever been done. Kevin and I have made it at one point.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just because of the big brands do everything.
Yes.
So yeah, that's the thing. And then there's some new stuff like that we hadn't worked with, like this Carbitex plate. We hadn't worked with them before, but we
Okay, so it's Carbitex like BOA and Michelin. Carbitex is its own brand that you
own
license.
brand, and they're really unique. They're based in Kennewick, Washington.
Okay.
And what's really cool about this stuff is that this is their technology that it's flexible. It's stiff in one direction, and it's highly flexible in a different
Oh
direction.
my gosh. Okay,
So it's all about the laminate.
that is wild.
Yeah. And so it's partners like this that have a unique technology. And when we see this, we see what's going on in the road. It's just basically a stiff plate.
Yeah.
It doesn't do this.
Yeah.
But what we see this and we're like, oh, this is the perfect plate for trail because it's flexible where you need it, but it's stiff where you need it. So it's perfect for those off-camber situations, and it also gives you some rock protection as well. So these are the type of things that we're looking for is like, how do you bring something new to like the trail market, but in an appropriate way?
Yeah. Where else? So like with BOA, usually on shoes, right? And Michelin tires, but you've seen at the bottom of shoes. Where else is Carbitex? What else are they using it?
They're doing now they're doing working with some other shoe brands now. Okay. But they're also, they've done some luggage. Okay. They've done some stuff in like water skis. So anywhere where like a laminated, lightweight material could be advantageous. Yeah. They're playing in those spaces. Yeah. So it's super interesting company, and for us, it's been a good partnership for trail shoes specifically.
So thinking through like supply chain stuff, was that you? Do one of you manage because you're calling BOA over here to get this piece, and then you're calling Carbitex to get this piece, and Michelin to get this piece. Yeah. And then you're having them all ship it to the place that's going to put it all together. Like, is one of you like really really hands on with that, or do you have an operations person with that, or is it just kind of happen?
Just kind of happens.
Yeah.
It's both of us. I would say in general. I don't know if Kevin would agree. I think so. I think Kevin usually takes the lead on like the supplier type stuff, like the BOA or because in my head that's a little more engineering driven. Yeah. So So I think he tries to take the lead on that. Yeah. We both have the relationship, so both of us will end up talking to people at these companies. But I think I would tend to say that he takes the lead on that, and then I'd probably say I take the lead more on like the sales and marketing and that side. Yeah. But we do overlap, so I don't want any.
It speaks to your history that you're the right person for this, because I see this and think there's a lot of complexities in pulling all of those sub suppliers together into a factory that can put it all together. But you guys have just always done it.
We've always done it, and the key is to have really good relationship with your main factories as well.
Were your main factories at all not interested in working with you at first because of your low volumes?
Some. Yeah. But the one that we ended up working with initially, we had a deep relationship with. Yeah. So it was kind of like, that's why it worked. Yeah. But yeah, there's been some factories that maybe we wanted to work with. Yeah. It wouldn't do. And we understood. It's just because our volumes were too low and it wouldn't be, let's say, a good business decision for them.
Yeah, right. I loved the book Shoe Dog, which you probably have unique insight into it, being in the industry. So maybe you love it.
Great book.
Maybe okay, good. Yeah. But one of the things I always took away from a business standpoint is that you always pay your top suppliers first. Like when he was growing so much that he didn't have the cash to grow, he'd talk about one or two factories that no matter what, they got paid on time, and everyone else, you paid at the last minute or you tried to haggle. But it sounds like that's the game in shoes, right? They're the ones making them.
Yeah, I won't speak for Kevin, but I think he feels pretty much the same way. I'm very adamant about paying our factories on time or early. Yes. I just feel like,
because you want them to look forward to your phone call.
Yeah, and there's a level of trust that has to be there
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to break that trust with our factories, no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I can relate to some of the shoe dog stuff and loans and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
as far as the factory stuff, yeah, we're very buttoned up on that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, so like as a rule of thumb, and it differs very much on industry, but if you're growing more than 20% per year, you almost can't service that growth with operational cash flow. So you have to have outside cash flow.
It's fair.
Are you like, just from a curiousness of how you're handling growth as you obviously are growing and you have this many shoes that you've put out and more, how are you keeping it going? Like, do you have just lines of credit? Do you have good terms with suppliers? Is all of the above?
All of the above, but yeah, I mean, we self-funded it from the start. So,
amazing.
And when I say like, not a huge amount of cash from either one of us, like enough to get the business going.
Yeah.
And then once it got going, then you start to run into the cash flow problems.
Yeah.
So we took on a few for anybody who's thinking about doing this. We took on a few safe notes.
Yep.
Which, if people don't know what those are, they're kind of like convertible debt, but not debt.
Yep.
And so that helps, kind of bridge the gap.
Did you mortgage the house? That old classic story? No?
Didn't do that. Didn't do that. No, but we did take a few notes, and then we also took a couple loans.
Yep.
And that pay off over time, and that's kind of been working for us because we have those loans that are revolvers that we can pay off, and then they can.
And then when it's time for the next shoe, you can draw.
They can re-up, and we just keep it going, and and then you have to have good demand for your product as well. And now we're at a place where we're building our demand consistently.
Yeah.
And that's key because we can't go make 5,000 pairs of shoes or whatever it's going to be. If the demand isn't there, and we're sitting on the shoes, that's going to be a huge problem.
That's a major problem
for the next thing.
Then you're doing garage sales, trying to get rid of shoes below cost.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, nobody does.
So that's kind of how we've done it. I mean, it's been like very like, I guess scrappy is the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah, on purpose. I mean, we've had obviously the investment conversations and a lot of the big stuff, but I think,
which no one would judge you for doing, by the way. I just think it's unique that you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the conversations. I think it's just always becomes a gauge of how much of your business are you willing to give up, and ultimately, I mean, and we also had a goal, just total transparency right now of getting some of our athletes invested as well.
Interesting.
So yeah, we came from the corporate side where if you for some of the corporations we worked for, you get options or you get grants, and that is incentive to keep not only to work hard but to keep working there and to really build it up. Right, success. Their success is your success, and we kind of wanted that same approach with the athletes. If we're going to say we put the athletes at the center of everything we do, they should have some skin in the game.
Yeah, or else, I mean, it's just like you're taking that to the absurd in a good way. You're saying not only do we want them to perform well in this shoe, if they're going to co-market with us, maybe they're going to enjoy some upside.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just natural, right? Like, we shouldn't be the only. If the company ends up being a success and it's successful, which knock on wood it will be. We want the athletes to or anybody involved, honestly, with Speedland, to have the same effect that we're going to have.
Yeah.
Like, I try to tell people, like, we're doing this for what we believe is the right reasons, and ultimately we just want to run a successful business. I'm not, let's say this the wrong way, but we're not doing it to get rich and make a lot of money.
Right.
Like, it's okay if we're successful.
Oh, you're talking to the right person.
But I think I just need to say that to people because I feel like we're really just trying to make a business that we believe in, that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we just need to make it successful so it can stick around.
Yes.
And I'm really excited if the athletes that work with us get to get some of that as well.
Yeah.
Like that's a great day.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, I had a kind of a business mentor talk about it this way, that business is a game and money is how you keep score.
Yeah.
Like I had a tea and bookstore once that we loved. It was called Creek Tea, and it did well in every way except financially.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the only one that you have to do well in order to stay open. So we lost a ton of money on that. But money isn't, like, if you're doing it for money, you'll never be happy.
Yeah.
And you'll never be successful because
Right.
you could always do more. But you got to have it to keep going.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm, that's why I love stories of founding businesses, and where you're at is that you got to make it work. Like, that's why I was curious, like, was your pricing strategy, like,
Yeah.
did it cover what it needed to? Because that's how this keeps going forward.
Yeah, that's right. And we're getting smarter over time. I mean,
Yeah.
we've made a lot of mistakes at the beginning financially. I'm sure people have made more, but we definitely made some.
Yeah.
But we're getting a lot smarter, and we're doing
Yeah.
it better now. And I when we started the company, whenever that was, or when we were that year of when we were getting going, I remember we read that "Let My People Go Surfing," the Chenard book.
Chenard, yeah.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of that book, for anybody who's listening to this that hasn't read that book,
Yeah.
I think that's a good one to read because I feel like a lot of that mentality is in that book, where it's like, yeah, I'm making it because I want to make a better product.
Yeah.
And of course things change over time, and I'm not the expert on Patagonia.
Sure.
But at least when you read that book, at least in the initial years and everything, you can see that he's doing it for the right reasons. And I mean, he's even doing stuff that, like, I think we wish we could do, like, oh, let's he would leave for months at a time and go climb or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm not a climber, so I'm not gonna do that. But,
Sure.
But that would be amazing if you could do something like that.
Yeah.
Reality check, no way. But it's not happening for
Yeah.
us. But this idea, at least, like, he's doing it for the right reasons, and then he's also going to go, live the life he wants to live.
Right.
And then he's also going to, the people that work for him, that's hence the title.
Yep.
Let My People Go Surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to look forward to their job. Yep.
Exactly.
Do you have employees?
We have one guy that's working for us part time.
That's it?
That's it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was expecting.
No, one guy.
5 or
His
6.
name's Clark Morgan.
Is he sales or what's he doing?
He's amazing. He's doing a lot of stuff. We call him kind of our director of experience.
Okay.
But he spends a lot of time with our ambassador group, with our elites, and then also just with customer service isn't even the right term, but like customer service in general. Fourth thing down on our list is hyper customer service.
Nice.
So we try to really be on top of things like that. Clark is, I won't go to, I'm probably embarrassing him right now, but Clark is a very unique individual in the sense that he has experience, long history with BOA,
Oh, interesting.
and he has history with Carbitex.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah.
And so then,
Perfect.
So we knew him from both companies, and then he moved to Portland, Oregon. And so it was almost like, well, we're using two of the things that,
Yeah.
you know a lot about. So he's kind of ideal. But beyond the experience he has there, he's a pretty accomplished trail runner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like accomplished
Perfect.
trail runner.
That was Carbitex.
Carbitex, BOA, and he's a really good people person.
Yeah.
It's
great.
So like between all that stuff, he's kind of perfect for us. So yeah, Clark works with us, and
So do you have?
that's it. And then we have people that help, like that we work with for different things, or like we work
Yeah.
with Free Trail for some things. So it just kind of depends what makes sense.
Yep.
We're big into kind of partnering with races and events and stuff. So we're kind of like, for marketing, we use Instagram, but we also do a lot of stuff with partners like Vipa or Free Trail or Daybreak or whoever we need to work with. That's kind of how we work. So we're kind of outsource is not right because it's their companies, but we're kind of leveraging those relationships, let's say.
So are you I mean, so your let's call it marketing collateral, the stuff that the images of the shoes. Like, are you just partnering with a marketing firm, a creative firm? Are you driving that? What's
Yeah,
that?
initially we were partnering with a creative firm. Now we kind of just a lot of times do it ourselves.
Pulled off
too.
in house. You know the photographers.
We know. Yeah, so it's just a mix.
Yeah.
On some of our partners, like depending on what we're looking for in different things, if it's like on-site stuff, like for Free Trail's a good example.
Yeah.
They have a really good photographer named, I'm sure you know all this, named Ryan Thrower.
Yeah.
So then Ryan will he's out getting shots. He'll also get shots for
Love it.
So
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the ultimate thing, is that we just want to work with people that are in the space and that it's authentic anyways.
Yeah.
Authenticity is, it's a buzzword for every brand now, but it's a big thing. It's a huge thing for us.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we approach it. It's just partner with the right people. And
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe when you think of all the functions that it takes to make a business work, that it sounds like there's 2.5 of you. Is that true in terms of total time? Did you say
Yeah,
he's
Clark-
part-time?
Clark's like, yeah, he is, but he's like 3/4.
He's one of those part-time people that's full-time.
2 3/4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absurd to me. You've used the word a few times, successful. If we're successful, or how are you defining success? You seem to, you've named your values, you've named your mission, you've got vision, all over the place. Do you have a center of the target for success right now, or how you're defining
No,
it?
not exactly. I think just that we can run a healthy company and keep growing.
Yeah.
And which we are right now.
Yeah.
But like you said, as you grow, other challenges start to present themselves.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting thing, at least for someone who's been in corporate their whole time. Those first two, it's funny, like people start those first 2 years, that's actually pretty easy, because you're just building,
Yeah.
and you don't really have the sales that you have to back up and everything.
Yeah.
Now that we're getting into year 3,
Yeah. You'll always look back and think and miss those problems, because you're always gonna have problems, but those early days problems are more fun.
I tell Kevin, we have a whole set of different problems now than we
Yeah.
had a year ago.
Yeah.
And we really had no problems at all the first year.
Yeah.
But you think you have problems.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's interesting for anybody who's starting a company and stuff. It's just, and I think that's also why you see a lot of companies are around for a couple of years, and then
Yeah.
reality sets.
Yeah.
And it's a different challenge.
Yeah.
Year 3, year 4, year 5.
Yeah. I mean, that you're as far as you are, you've beat the odds. I mean, the odds were sorely stacked against you just to have a business, and then on top of that it's shoes, which maybe doesn't sound crazy to you. It still feels crazy to me to start a shoe company.
But that's what we know.
Yeah. So with being direct to consumer, I mean,
I do tell people there are other businesses I'm too passionate. I love shoes, so
Clearly,
I'm too passionate.
yeah.
Like, this is what I would do no matter what.
Yeah.
But like looking back, I give people advice. I'm like, why don't you start a bag company? There's no sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, projecting sizes. I can't. I have no frame of mind.
Bags
for
are
that.
where it's at.
Yeah. Because you may have a huge demand for size 11, but you only ordered
Yes.
X amount.
You got it. You
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
So being direct to consumer, though, that's in pricing at, let's say, $275. Is your long-term strategy to stay direct to consumer? Because if you went to brick and mortar, which is, brick and mortars aren't doing so hot anyway,
Yeah.
prices might need to adjust. Let's say
The majority will always be direct to consumer.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep growing. I mean, we're growing our specialty run channel business
Okay.
a decent amount. So it'd be like, shops like an SFRC.
Okay.
Like a regional shop.
Yeah, I thought I
that's-
saw you in there,
that
yeah.
specializes in. Hopefully, they have some decent coverage of trail in this, because otherwise we're kind of not right. For
You don't
that.
make sense.
Yeah. And they also need to kind of carry some higher end stuff from other brands as well, right?
Yeah.
Like you probably want to see like a Vaporfly or something in there.
Yeah.
Just so there's, even though that's a road shoe, but
Right.
but beyond that, so we are growing that. We see value in that. Not so much from the financials, obviously, but from the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
We love to be able to send people. I personally, again, like I'm probably not the good business person, because I would rather sell it at a shop when people say like, than sell it DTC. because I want them to have that experience of putting it
Yeah.
on with somebody.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to send people. So if we have a shop, let's say in like Northern California, in Utah, in Colorado, in Texas, if we can just have shops at every hub,
Yeah.
and we're able to at least send people, and yeah, they're going to sell out of the product maybe,
Yeah.
but maybe the shop has we give some shops, we give demo runs to if they're open to it. Like here's a demo run.
Yeah.
Don't sell it.
Yeah.
But you can use that for people to try on the shoes. You
And then order it.
You can order it. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, I mean we're growing that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, as the brand goes, maybe it will be in a few big box places eventually.
Yeah.
Not any. I mean,
Yeah.
not now. And it's not our business is mainly going to be direct to consumer.
Yeah. I mean, your business model reminds me a little bit, as I sit here and hear it, makes me think of Tesla a little bit. I don't know if we've ever thought about this comparison, but you know, it's almost like direct to consumer because Tesla cut out the middleman. In Utah, it was a long time before you could have a Tesla dealership because Utah laws required that if you're going to sell a car, you have to go through whoever's licensed to sell it. So Ford can never sell directly to me in Utah. But you have demand within the market that you're desiring to have demand within, regardless of how big it is. The market wants your shoe.
Right.
I mean, have you ever contemplated your own, like, Speedland shops?
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll have a Speedland shop probably not this year, but probably next year in Portland.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Where would you want to have it? What's your dream spot in Portland?
Well, I mean, our dream spot is that it backs up to a trail. I mean, we've had this vision from the beginning, and so we need to make this happen.
Yeah.
But we looked a lot at the cycling community like Rafa and how it was like a community hangout place, right? So we want to have a shop where you can go in, sell some shoes, whatever. But you go in, you try on a model, you go out the back door onto Wildwood, onto one of the fire roads in Portland.
Yeah.
And also, we want to have, so like, a lot of our vision is customization. So that's why you see a lot of these kind of breadcrumbs already starting to take place.
Yeah.
So there's a lot we can do if we can customize it like a ski boot in-house.
Customize it per shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want consumers to be able, ultimately, how Nike does Nike ID, but for fashion, we want to do that for performance. Wow. And so we're already doing that a lot of times for like elite athletes or one-offs. But we'd like to be able to, for the general consumer to come in and go to the custom bar.
Yeah.
And we're going to tell you about different plates, and here's why you need a certain plate. We're going to show you 4 different drop-in midsoles, and here's why. Here's why you might suggest this one. And it's not all that different than cycling, because like when you buy when you're getting fitted on a bike, and they might change your insoles on on your shoe because they want you to they want your transverse arch to be a certain way. Anyway, so you could choose this. You might be able we could swap out different boas for you if we wanted to.
Wow.
And so ultimately we're trying to future-proof it where there's these custom options, and on the custom side, you would buy it and build it like you do a car right now, or a bike.
Amazing.
Like equipment.
Yes.
So it's not footwear anymore.
Yes, your equipment.
So now you're really building your equipment for trail running, or whatever else we get into.
Wow.
And so that's kind of the vision, but it's also a community hangout, and so like the trail running groups could meet up there. Obviously, Portland's got a trail. I mean, I'm sure it does here too, but Portland's got a trail running group going every night of the week.
Sure. Yeah.
So trail running groups could go. Our elites that are in Portland could hang out there.
Yeah.
So you could come. When Dylan's in town, you could go and rub elbows with Dylan Bowman. Whatever. He could lead a run.
Right.
Stuff like that. Like that's what we're trying to do. Is like bring all this together, have a espresso, it's kind of like what's happened in the cycling world to some extent.
Yeah.
We see that could happen for trail running, and probably I shouldn't even think of it just as trail running, but yeah, we see that shop as something that should exist in Portland.
Yeah.
And then if it exists there, and as we grow, there's no reason it can't exist anywhere that has a similar mindset and geography.
Yeah.
So, Boulder, just start to pick your places, Flagstaff,
Right. Oh, amazing.
probably here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think Salt Lake, where I'm working on something right now calling it Urban Trail Fest.
Yeah.
Because I think Salt Lake is just the uniqueness of Salt Lake, and many people here know this. So
Yeah.
this isn't my idea. I'm just trying to bring this together.
Executing it, yeah.
That's right. That we could do a trail fest, like a Mammoth Trail Fest, like Tim Tolfson's
Yeah.
doing, or even UTMB. Those are in the mountains. One of the things I love about Salt Lake is that you can be in the city.
Yeah.
From where we sit right now, we're in the city. We're actually kind of close. We could be on a world-class trail in 8 minutes from here.
So it's very similar to Portland in that
Yes.
way.
So that's what I love, and that's what I want to show off, and that's what I want to. I mean, so I'm obviously high on Salt Lake.
Yeah.
I like it here. Can you give me a run through of what's on the table here, just out of curiosity?
Yeah. So some of this stuff. So this one is our PDX, which is out right now. But like I said, it'll come back in some similar form.
Okay.
And then this is a commission that we did before the PDX with a group called Path Projects, which is
And I love Path. I run in their shorts, but
Okay.
why Path?
well. So yeah, this goes back to the athlete. So one of our athletes, Liam Lonsdale, is a Path athlete. And Liam's an interesting runner in that he's also kind of more known in the climbing scene actually, and for photography.
Yeah.
So he's a great photographer, but a lot of his cut his chops like filming climbers.
Yeah.
So he's a Path guy, and so he basically is like, oh, it'd be cool to do a collaboration with Path, and we're like, oh, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we did. So we co-branded the shoe. We also worked with Flores, who's one of their main guys, and we did a shirt, with them.
That was a cool promotion.
Yeah, so it was cool. It was like simple. And then we went down to a shop called We Run Republic down in
Yep.
LA.
Yep.
And they had some past stuff. Flores was there, Liam was there, Kevin and me, we were there, and we just Clark was there. And we we did a run. So we kind of brought the whole thing full circle.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what we like to do. We like to do a commission
Yeah.
where the athlete has the input, and then we like to go execute on an event if we can of some kind.
Yeah. And why this colorway? Is there significance to the colors?
Oh, Liam did have some significance. I can't remember what he said though on it. So these are Liam's. He chose the colors.
Nice.
So
It's a cool
anything you
choice.
see like from a commission,
Yeah.
they're always chosen by the athlete.
Yeah.
And there's usually deeper meaning that's behind it.
Yeah.
It's escaping me though why he chose
Yeah.
these exact colors.
Yeah, all good. I just like to hear that. Yeah, he had the input on that. He did that.
Yeah, no, he had the input. Yeah, and I mean, super cool. Like this is one of my favorite colorways for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stood out. I remember seeing it, thinking. I mean, you're coming off of these, your Speedland color into that. It was just like a really cool.
Yeah. So this was a fun one, and then a couple new things on the table. So this is our next cam commission. So we already have a cam commission that's blue.
Yes.
So next one is black and red, and so again, this is completely driven by cam.
Yeah.
You can see on the inside, him. Every day he runs up. I don't know every day, but pretty much every day. I think Cam would say.
Yeah.
He runs up to this monument on this Mount Pisgah, which is down by Springfield, Oregon, where he lives. That's why the shoe's called the SFD.
Yeah.
And so there's a graphic of him jumping up on that. But
That's
then
awesome.
beyond that, there's a slogan on the side that says "We must endure," and that goes back to how he feels about when he's running these ultras and like enduring through pain. And
I'm just curious when
Yeah.
when Cam got the shout out to Speedland on Joe Rogan, was there a bump? Was there something that did sales go up? I'm just curious what that was even like.
well, there was definitely a bump in social media.
Yes, I watched your follower count. I was like, I'm just going to see what happens, and so that was good.
Yeah. For sales, I'm sure there was some sort of bump, but the biggest reaction we probably had was when Kevin and me went on Cam's podcast. Cam has
Yeah.
his own podcast
Yep.
called the Keep Hammering Collective.
Oh yeah.
And so when we went on that, I think a lot of people discovered us for the first time.
Oh, nice.
So that was, but yeah,
we were very happy that Joe shouted our names.
Couldn't get any better than that.
Yeah, no.
And then this is
Okay, so
really
this is
beautiful
super
shoe.
exciting. Yeah, so this one is coming out later in the fall. This is the it says SL, but it's the GL. So this is called the GL SVT. And so this is kind of that quiver shoe in between our original SL that was a little bit lower stack and the GS, which is kind of our max stack shoe. This shoe is Avery Collins' commission, and so anybody who knows Avery, he's based in Silverton, and so what he's running things like Hard Rock, right? So what we really wanted was like kind of an all-mountain shoe that could be a little more aggressive on the bottom, a little more technical. You can kind of see
those cleats, or I don't know what would you call these in the shoe
lugs.
world? Lugs. There you go. The lugs are much more. They almost look like cleats. Like they're so much longer.
So they're longer than the GS, but they're very similar in length to our original SL.
And it says cuttable blocks on the bottom. What is that?
So this goes back to our original SL. Is they're a little bit longer. So what you can do is take a plier, a cutting plier, and you can cut the top off. So if you want to customize this traction, you can more. Comes from mountain bike tires. So they customize them so they roll differently and race differently. Given the course.
Interesting.
So you could literally, like, if you were running this shoe if you were doing, say, an Aura Viper race down in Arizona, you might not need lugs this long.
Right.
And if, let's say you were based in Arizona, and that's where you were running most of the time, 90% of your time, you could just come and cut all the tops off these. You would reduce some weight. You just don't need them because you're not digging in that much. So that just gives you an option. Not many people do that because it's a one-way operation.
Sure. Yeah, right.
But yeah, so it's kind of an all-mountain shoe. Not kind of, I think it's kind of the ultimate. It's got a double bow. It's got the bow in a different location. We test different things, and for this one, it's got a built-in gaiter, built-in knit cuff that comes up.
But I see that like the hole, is this just like ventilation?
Yeah, it's ventilation. So that's engineered to be lighter around where your malleolus is, where your ankle bone is. So that everything's engineered on it, right? It even has, if I open it up, it's got like more engineered ventilation under there. But yeah, so this is, and then we're also, beyond this one, we're also going to bring a low version of this as well.
Oh,
so
interesting.
A little different, yeah.
Okay.
And that'll be, that will not be the GL SVT, that'll be the GL PDX.
Okay, nice.
So we'll take a little bit of the PDX and we'll bring it in. So it'll be a little bit different. I won't give away too much on that one yet, but that will release. I don't think anybody knows that unless they're listening to this because I have not told anybody that. That'll come out at the same time. So probably around September. We don't have a firm date on this yet.
Okay.
We're still testing.
Do you have a price set on it yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
But it'll be somewhere around where the GS is.
Yeah.
It will probably, right now we sell the plate separately. With this,
that's right.
With this shoe, it'll probably come with the plate because with this shoe, the plate's a little bit more. As the stack gets a little bit less, we feel the plate's a little more integral. So it'll probably come with this shoe.
Nice.
But yeah, super excited about this shoe, and Avery. He's still testing it for us, but he loves it. And
and it looks like Avery Collins. Like you do a good job of reflecting your athlete.
That's good. Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, we love guys like Avery because he's kind of an equipment nerd. So,
is he?
Yeah, even just beyond running.
So that's got to be satisfying for you.
We like people that want to give us like very detailed.
Nuance.
Yeah, we have another. Almost all of our athletes honestly give very, and they're. Not all of them specialize in different events, but they all give kind of very direct, honest, and like clear, very clear feedback that you didn't. I've worked with athletes in all sports, and I have to say that I think trail running, maybe because of the time that the footwear is spent on somebody's foot. Obviously, they want it to be right, but they also know when it's not right, and so it's a little bit different than, let's say, basketball or something else.
One of the things I like about what you did is with the Cam Hanes commissions is that he's not an elite trail runner. He's obviously a known entity.
He's a good trail runner.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But point being is that
he does other things beyond trail running.
And then I also don't want to say that like that makes Dylan Bowman less. That I mean, well, he's doing
Yeah.
free trail, but or let's say Avery Collins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I like that you deviated, from that and just chose to do that. I think that's interesting. That'd be cool to see more of.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think at the core, whoever we partner with, at least at this stage that we're in, we want them to have trail running as part of their.
Yeah.
I could probably argue that Avery's right as much a backcountry
Yeah.
snowboarder or whatever as I could a runner. Honestly, I mean, he spends so much time in the. But in general, no matter whether it's Cam, Avery, Dylan. Although Dylan's spending a lot of time being an entrepreneur now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
between all that, like all these people are mountain people. Like they're spending a lot of time in the mountains.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it all comes back to for us.
Yeah.
Even if you look at it's kind of honestly a perfect reflection of like I like to trail run. But Kevin spends most of his time like backcountry skiing and mountain biking.
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of like a reflection in general, I think, of our interests too. It's like, no, we just want people that want to be in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that, I mean, you're clearly, just by the way you deliver the information, proud of what you've built here. I think it's unbelievable.
We're excited. I mean, it's our life. We're like 110% in, So.
Yeah. I mean, is there a, in your world of shoe design and where you come from, is there a person that you look back on that you think had such an impact on you that you wouldn't have been able to do this without that person? Does anyone come to mind?
Oh my gosh.
As a last question, I'm just curious who inspired you.
Wow. That's a big question.
Yeah.
That I feel like
Dylan Bowman hasn't asked you that question, has he?
no. Nobody's
kidding.
asked me that. I mean, I guess like anything, right? As you go through time, there's like people that have been mentors
Yeah.
and people that have given you breaks through time.
Yeah.
And so like and so I almost go back to like the companies, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like single out one.
A person.
But like if I could like I'm just going to name a few.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So at Art Center there was a product design chair named Martin Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me kind of the break that helped me like get to Solomon and start like the
Nice.
whole trail running / footwear / all
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a break, right? And then like at Nike, there was a guy that also went to Art Center named another designer. He's quite a famous basketball designer actually, named Aaron Cooper.
Uh-huh.
He kind of took me under his wing and kind of like, okay, this is kind of how you have to do it, and
Yeah.
kind of soft mentorship, but like
Yeah.
help kind of ride.
But insightful.
Yeah, insightful. And there were other people at Nike too. So like, I hate to single out one person
Sure.
because like there are so many people,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But he was just one person that kind of like maybe went out of his way a little bit when he didn't have to. Right?
Nice.
That's a lot of times what it comes down to. And then when I think if I keep going, like Puma, there was a guy that was a guy named Gavin Ivester.
Yeah.
Who's pretty well-known designer, and he was able to look at the macro picture while still enabling kind of the micro to happen.
Oh, that's a skill.
Yeah, but not doing it himself.
Yeah.
Like enabling me to do the micro, let's
Yeah.
say,
To accomplish the macro.
to accomplish the macro
Yeah.
and have the grand macro vision.
Yeah.
Kind of learned that from him a little bit.
That's awesome.
So he's still doing his thing in a lot of different ways, but and then Under Armour, I'll have to say, I mean, I in a totally different way. I learned a lot from Kevin Plank, the CEO.
Really?
He's CEO again. I don't know if you're.
No, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah.
Is it a turnaround job at this point?
Yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah.
And he's gonna. I don't. It's hard for me to comment on it because I'm
Sure.
not there.
Yeah.
But beyond all that, what I was able to witness was the constant maniacal drive of somebody,
Obsession of
obsession of something
Yeah.
that never stops. Grind.
no compromise. Your values. Yeah.
This is what we're doing. Sell. Like
Yeah.
tell the story, like all that stuff. And I had a front row seat to it.
Yeah.
So I can't say that wasn't valuable.
Sure. That's amazing.
To be around, and he you know, he is and
Yeah.
was an amazing entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like those, that's how I kind of like, and I'm leaving out, I mean, a million people.
Yeah.
But like those are things that stick in my brain of like almost like chapters in my life.
Right.
If I look at those chapters and like
Yeah.
people that, kind of lifted me in some way.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way you could do this without having a lot of people in your life, prior to.
Yeah, and then and now I have along that entire journey for the most part was Kevin.
Yeah.
So
wild. Yeah. You guys have obviously done a great job. I appreciate you telling me the story of the business side and the passion, and it's fun to watch. I can't wait to see where it goes.
All right. Well, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks. Yeah, it's fun.
Yep. See you.